elegant weapon for a more civilized age.
This is where the fun begins.
Are you sure? So be it. Did you miss me?
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, OG Star Wars Lore Baga, and welcome to my channel, OG Star Wars, for an impromptu short version of CAF Chat. So, yeah, I wouldn't say I feel a burnout, but just the last couple of days in my personal life has me a little bit emotional and physically drained in a way that I felt like I just needed a little break from a lot of things. But then I was like, man, I am like disappointed my followers, subscribers, members. So I decided, well, I can't really cancel Cap Chat. I've been doing it far too often or whatever. So here I am. So if you're joining me, thank you so much. We are 15 minutes from the normal start time, but that is okay. And so if you're catching the replay, as always, thank you so much for coming in and listening in and giving your thoughts as you watch along. Hit the like button, everybody, no matter if you're catching the replay or not. Hit that like button. And today we are going to casually talk. I am going to give the book of the week still. So last week it was Return of the Jedi, the novelization, not Return of the Jedi, geez, Revenge of the Sith, the novelization. And this week I'll make a new announcement. Now you're not required to read. It's just to inspire you on wanting, trying to pick up these books if you don't have them in your collection, and also inspire you to read, to get into the lore, that part of the lore, what's going on in that time space in the universe or in the galaxy, our Star Wars history. So that will be coming up. And I don't know if I would call these articles cringe factors, but I do have two articles that we're going to discuss. It's very funny. One is about how some of the original OT actors, how they were, the type of thanks they were given and what they were given. And so stay tuned for that. I'm going to leave you in suspense on that. So Kathleen Kennedy was like, gave Hamill and Anthony Daniels a gift for being in The Force Awakens, I guess. So stay tuned for that to see what it is. And then also the Cerveza Crystal beer that was put in, like inserted in the movies, the A New Hope, and how George Lucas basically took him to court about that. Yeah, George stepped up. He always seems like he has, been passive about things and whatever, has been like nonchalant and stuff, especially when it comes to fan parodies. But he didn't really quite like what was going on with that. So we'll get into that. But another important thing that I realized that we need to discuss here is the bashing of Star Wars now that Dune Part 2, or whatever you want to call it, has come out. And I have never gotten into Dune. at the time. I remember the series coming out, and I remember watching a little bit of it. It was fascinating. It was, but I never really got into it. It just never sparked my interest more than like even Star Trek and Star Wars and other properties. What you like and stuff like that. But because since it came out, people are like going head on bashing George Lucas and bashing Star Wars because of the movie, where people I've heard mixed reviews, but a lot more of a positive take than one of a negative, I guess you could say, about, people are talking about how this Dune movie, even as an adaptation, is not faithful to. But then you have the majority who are favoring it and like it, that are saying, countering them. And so there's this back and forth that you kind of see when it came to like even Star Wars, when, Star Wars went under Disney, and, fans didn't favor the directions of certain characters and the lore and what have you. But we'll get into that here pretty soon. I want to go ahead and say hello to those in the chat. Again, we started a little bit later, but that's okay. I am here. I am here. And then Darth Ghostface, member for 5 months. Thank you so much. Has Ahmad Best ever provided any verifiable evidence of his claims that he received death threats from Star Wars fans on the internet and by phone calls over playing Jar Jar Binks in the prequels? Not that I know of. I did go to that podcast where he first started talking about that. And from what I got, that the media doxed him. Yeah. So now you know why he said that this was media, like media led, media driven, because the media provided the tools for these fans. And I wouldn't really call them fans. Okay. So let's not call these kind of people who decide to threaten and harass fans, because if they were fans of said property and stuff, even if you don't agree with a certain character, because we all have, we can talk about the good and the bad about what we love in a franchise, right? We're still fans. But when a fan crosses that line and goes into threatening death, harassment, all of that, they're no longer fans. And some people will argue against this towards me when I've addressed this on Twitter. Oh, well, still fans are still this and stuff, because they still want to be able to call us fans who don't care for Disney Star Wars toxic fans. So that's why they're sticking up for this toxic fan narrative. So if you can link two and two together, it's not that they like toxic fans. I don't know. It's just that if they can defend that narrative, they can use it against us. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, so I haven't, nothing was said and nothing was like revealed on exactly. I want to find that article that doxed him. So I think it was a newspaper print article or magazine. I don't know. So I haven't had a chance to fully get into that research. If you know me, I dig. I try to dig and find the information. And then when I find it, then, oh Lord, does hell break loose when I find it, because then it changes the narrative of these individuals who want to still use the and term the coin toxic fans against us. So it changes their narrative once you provide more evidence. We all know that, right? So when I have a chance, sometime in the near future, I will look for that article. I'll go back to that podcast and then I'll look for that article. And then I'll give feedback on that. Oh boy, you'll know I'll give feedback on that. Of course, I won't share the address. Probably he doesn't live there anymore, but for safety reasons, if that really happens. But yeah, once I uncover, you guys will hear about it. All right. So Soul Assassin says, smash that like button and share the stream out. I was chatting with him just like I said, the past few days has been emotionally and a little bit physically draining for me. There's stuff going on in this greater community on the reservation where I live at that has been disheartening and very sad for how someone has treated their business and how it's contaminated the water here and everything. And now, like we probably have to get tested to see how much this contamination has affected even our own bodies. Yeah. So I was like, and there's times where I'm like, I'm not feeling good. And maybe some of you guys will have heard me on Twitter and stuff of like feeling sick or not feeling good and blah, 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 blah. Even though I'm an avid person who takes care of myself and I work out, I eat mostly clean food. Um, I mean, near next to nothing on processed foods or even fast foods. So there's that. So that's a scary situation, and it's starting to get heated because the tribe is taking precautions, and it's a big huge drama that's going out in this community. And I just but then I realized, you know, I don't have to really discuss this with my subscribers, you guys that come into CAF chat, and this can kind of take me away from that. So let's now not talk about that. So that's what was going on. I'm here and we are going to have some fun here. So it may not be as long as a normal CAF chat, but at least it gives me a small break from the norm around here. And then I just got to get busy with my ordinary life. And I think we're going to travel to a powwow and get out of the area. So yeah, so got to do that. And then we have another channel member, Melissa Lord. Hey, girl, OG Star Wars. Thank you for coming in. And let's see here. I saw 3PO's gift, laugh aloud cake. Yes. Was like, screw you. Yes. Oh my God. Oh, it's sad, but I'm the kind of person that will laugh and bust out during a serious conversation if I find something like an irony or something makes me laugh or something. I'm just one of those people. So this was sad, but man, it's fucking hilarious too at the same time. I don't know. Soul Assassin says, can we all agree that the best Dune films were the Tremor films? Yes. Oh my God. If anything, they want to say, if anything, like Tremors gets the idea of the sandworms from Dune, right? And even down to how they open their mouths or the beak part of it. Oh my God. Yeah, that's hilarious. Bunch of country folk take on giant man-eating worms called garboids. Bert's my spirit animal. Oh my God. I think I've only seen one person, maybe two on Twitter, talk about Tremors being the best Dune movies ever. So right on, right on. Gordon says, good morning, OG, and hello, chat, whatever time zone you are in. And good morning to you. And as always, you guys, what's in your mug? I am not coming on camera because I literally got up not too long ago. Like I said, I was emotionally drained. Like there's a lot of things to think about. And we don't know how much this contamination is. So, and I don't want to really get into the crux of everything and stuff. So, and then I talked to my sister who lives in Chicago area on the phone last night. So we were up late. But yeah, but my mug is the Sage Ventress mug that you can purchase in my Redbubble. I need to figure out how to move. Well, not how to move, but I need to move or at least open up another like Teespring or something like that with some of my merch. So we'll see about that. That's coming. Gordon says, hello all. So I love how you guys address each other. And then, oh my goodness, I don't know what that is, but that's hilarious. Oh man, I hope all is well. Okay, it's for that. Okay. Laura, I hate that for you. Yeah, it's crazy, And I told you I'm not going to get into this, but I guess maybe I should just express a little bit. Is, we talk about how Mother Earth is sacred, how water is sacred, water is life. But to have something like this happen, man, it's heartbreaking. But yeah, let's move on. Let's move that. Yes. And my father and his family grew up on their own well water. Yeah. It's good. Like if you have your own source of water, but like when contamination, like negligence happens and contamination happens from it, that right there, like it takes a lot of work, and sometimes it takes time for that contamination to leave. All right. Let's see here. I also feel emotional drain. My birthday was 2 days ago, and I feel so old and starting to forget things. Where am I? Oh my God, Soul! Happy birthday to you. Ah, man. I know you're younger than me, so quit being so friggin' dramatic. You're not that old. Oh my God. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear soul assassin. Happy birthday to you. All right. Thank you so much for being an awesome mod here as well. Let's see here. And you're a Pisces. But OG, the chat is family though. There are a bunch of nuts. Yeah, we're all family here. We are family. Hanging out with the chat and me. I don't know. That was weird, but yeah. Mm, there we go. Which nut are you? What nut? What is your favorite nuts? Come on, nuts. Tell me. What like if you were to be a nut, like the actual seed? What is your nut? That sounds so fucking funny. Oh my god. What is your nut? Oh my god. This went out like uh, I love that. Happy anniversary of your birth. Ah, Red Hoodwinked is here. What's up? How are you doing, Brandon? Hello. Yeah. Oh, so let's get back into the Dune thing here. Dune, Dune, Dune. How many of you guys have read the novels, the Dune novels, or has watched like the early Dune series and stuff and their earlier movies? And what's your opinion about them? Because as of lately, like I said in the beginning, it's like let's bash Star Wars and let's bash George now. Let's go ahead and talk like really exaggerate, like hyperbolic kind of talk against George without further context to what had happened in situations that has been used against George, like him going nearly bankrupt and then the bank pulling out from him and he having to barely scrap and scrape and get more funding for, Empire Strikes Back, and him paying out of his pockets, like not taking any for himself and helping to pay his own crew, his own workers. That kind of narrative without the further context was another thing I've heard within this last week or so used against George, and why Star Wars is worse than Dune. That has nothing to do, like the budget and how it was taken care of has nothing to do with quality. So I don't know why that type of narrative was brought up before that I've heard. And just things like that. And there's no like real, and they're comparing the movies, not the books. They're comparing the first recent movies. So they're not really comparing the books unless you get some of them that are like George ripped off Dune kind of thing. And talking about then Herbert's books. And then there is that one incident where Herbert was thinking about suing George because he watched Star Wars, now called A New Hope, and was like, he ripped me off. But I'm comprising right now because like I said, I never read Dune, so I can't really say counter too much regarding that. So I'm doing my research right now. But when you look at, from what I know, when you look at Dune and you look at Star Wars, the first movie that to come out, and then you look at Dune, both of them, and so far my research has led to both Herbert and Lucas using the same type of research mythologies and stuff like that to create their shows, create their franchises, create their first installments, I guess you can say. And then George has always, always, always given credit where credit is due on who and what inspired him. And he briefly talks a little bit about Dune in one instance, but then when you look up everything else and all the times he gives credit to, it's not there. So you could say George did give credit to, but then failed to talk about it later on in other interviews and stuff. Maybe. I don't know. So I'm looking for that. But what I'm planning to do within this week, this coming week or two, is I'm going to bring on a couple of one or two people that I've been talking with who have read both Dune and love Star Wars. So they're fans of both, to give a clear discussion regarding both franchise. I think it's very important that we give, excuse me, we give a proper analysis between the two, not trying to bash either authors, not trying to bash what had happened behind the scenes, because that has nothing to do with, the quality or how, unless we're talking about the world building behind the scenes, that's fine. But like the, what do you call it? The budgeting and stuff like that, that has nothing to do with the quality of it, right? It has something to do with any of and also comparing what are the same and what's not, and then also comparing how both the creators were inspired by a lot of the similar ideas, like in a sense, mythologies. Now that's one of the crooks that, when you get into sci-fi and fantasy writers, they get into mythologies on to create some story arcs for characters or plots or what have you. That's a common thing. That is a common thing. So let me see what you guys have to say here, because I did ask that question if you saw Dune. Star Wars is the king of entertainment. I agree. Let's see here. Oh, Matthew Godet is here. Hello. Okay, I'm scrolling up here just to get to where I answered the question. Goober. Walnut. You guys are funny. Okay, we have a walnut and a goober in here. For like, what nut are you? All right. Hello, Star Wars fans and Shield Slayer. The Shield Slayer is here. Hello. Let's see here. Okay, I have read them and saw the 1984 movie. Okay. So you have, some knowledge behind that. Gordon says, I only watched the original Dune film with Sting. Okay. I know the book because Lucas mined it for Star Wars. Okay, so that's what I'm getting at, because I think there's some truth, but not as much as people are thinking, or as drastic as people are thinking. I read through, and a long time ago, it was in the 90s. It was the 90s. Okay. I started doing it a long time ago in school. Didn't follow through. I liked the Lynch movie. Okay. Awesome. Don't care much for Dune, but I know some idiots online who claim Lucas ripped off Dune for Star Wars. I know nothing about Dune other than sand and giant worms. Giant worm. Okay. I never got into Dune. I knew of it. That's pretty much it. Yeah. Star Wars is king of entertainment. There's a lot of things that Star Wars did that really puts, in that time period, really put the sci-fi and outer space experience in front of people. And I think that's something that maybe Dune has failed to do in a sense, because it was at the time just a novel series being written, but, and so that, because, they say, you could say, theater and shows and stuff, people watch first, and it'll be in front of people first and foremost, especially when it comes out in theaters and stuff. So, you have that influence of written versus, viewership, I guess you could say. Lynch's movie used to be shown on broadcast TV a lot for some reason. Yeah, I remember being a little like preteen, or maybe not even preteen yet, and watching it with my grandma. She favored Star Wars more, but that was just her. But it was fun for her to watch. She was a huge sci-fi fan. So for me and my family, we had a lot of sci-fi influence because of her. Leia even once had a force power before she was Luke's sister, based on the Benny. And you know what? I will say, what happened versus what was going to happen doesn't count. And you can say the Benny or Benny has a lot of similarities, but when I did my research, Herbert even got this idea for the Benny Gesserit by another mythological source. So you can even say, okay, since George didn't, give him credit for this, then maybe they had the same influence, or maybe their influences are slightly different on what was the force and how it was used. I could never get into Dune either. Just didn't have the same magic as George Lucas' Star Wars. I saw people comparing Dune characters to Anakin. That's another thing. Luke and even Revan on Twitter, people are wild. Yeah, I didn't see the Revan, but I did see the Anakin more than I seen Luke. I could not compare my positive Lynch memories from the first Villeneuve movie. Yeah, and see, like I said, I barely remember Lynch's, but I've never watched the current ones. I don't have any. I am not gonna go watch. That's just me. I'm just not going to. I haven't been really favoring watching any movies as of lately. George was inspired by a lot. And that's my point. There's a lot of mythology. There's the hero's journey, there's Greek mythology. There's these timeless themes that he took all this inspiration from and made it into Star Wars, and created its own world and its own world building aspects, its own history, all of that. So, like I said, I'm not denying anything that George was inspired by certain authors or certain franchises or certain stories or mythologies, historical events. I'm not denying any of that. And I think when people are like, "Oh, well, he ripped off Dune like completely, like Star Wars is just a rip off of Dune," that's disingenuous in itself, especially when you have, went in to learn what George and how George created Star Wars and what he was influenced by. And I can't wait. And so stay tuned for the announcement. Once I get confirmation on the actual day and time, we will have this Dune and Star Wars discussion here. I'm not going to call it Dune versus Star Wars or Star Wars versus Dune. I think that's lame. But we are going to have maybe the mythologies of Dune and Star Wars kind of talk. I think that sounds more civil, mythologies of Dune and Star Wars. So, and I can't wait to have this conversation and be able to discuss this live with you guys in the chat as well. I think there needs to be an educational type discussion and brought to light, because it's like we're seeing the same old Disney Star Wars bashing towards George, but this time it's Dune. So instead of it being Disney, it's Dune, and the Dune people are bashing George and Star Wars this time, and it's disgusting. It really, really is disgusting. Thank you so much. Let's see here. New kids are pretending the entire stories of Dune and Star Wars both take place in the sand, right? And that's the thing, because with Dune, it's a single area basically, and where Star Wars takes place in so many different aspects within its galaxy. Every movie has a different area that it takes place, or at least expands on a new area, I guess you could say. Like A New Hope You start with the space chase to Tatooine, and then they leave Tatooine, and and are taken to supposed to be going to Alderaan. Rest in peace, the Alderanians. And then see, I'm supposed to be serious. I'm laughing. See, this is what I told you in the beginning of this live stream. I laugh sometimes during serious stuff. I'm just fucking crazy. And then you get to Yavin, and then you have that. And there's a lot of stories, franchises that have an opposing kind of like dictator emperor. So Dune wasn't the first, and Star Wars wasn't copying Dune. And when you get a dictatorship or empire that takes over, of course it's going to be familiar or similar, because it's the common theme. It's the common theme. That's why George is like, you can relate Star Wars to a lot of things in life. And then obviously, since these creators go off the same themes and stuff, you can compare them to other franchises in a sense of, with the common themes and stuff. And I think people are forgetting about that. And then you have Empire Strikes Back, where you are, you get to see Dagobah. You are now on Hoth. You get to see Dagobah. You get to see Bespin, Cloud City. And then you get to see them on what was it, home base, or home, the ship. I think it's called Home. I forget. And there's Lando's leaving to figure out how to find Han and stuff. So, and then you have Return of the Jedi, where they find out about where this second Death Star is being built, and of course Palpatine, the Emperor, basically sets them up, but they end up defeating. But so it's through his setup, getting them there to try to destroy them, and already having the station, the Death Star, fully functional and operational, basically. It leads to climatic, back and forth and stuff like that. But you are at Endor. Endor is secluded, very secluded place where you have these primitive little beings, species, these little aliens that don't have the same technology because they haven't been in contact with the greater galaxy. And they basically subvert expectation of the Empire, thinking that these little guys wouldn't fight back and stuff like that. Yeah. So you get all these different experiences and stuff. And, I can't wait. And these different areas, so it's not just on a single planet. And then when you hear George discuss, like in the making of, about like Tatooine and stuff like that, and I think it's in the Magic of Myth as well, about like the Sand People and like the Jawas. He also went into actual like Middle Eastern like people, and people who lived in the desert like Sahara and stuff like that, on how they use protective garb to protect them from the elements and the sun and all this, and how they wrapped themselves up. And then you could say that with Herbert as well. So there's those similarities that make people think, oh, well, the Jawas are really, they're native species from dunes or whatever. And I'm like, well, I could see that, but then look into exactly what George was inspired by creating these guys here first. Are there similarities? Yes, there is. But how did George get to this conclusion? Look it up. Look it up. All right. So I went on to that little rant. Let me go ahead and see what you guys said. Star Wars was the king of entertainment before the dark days, before Disney. The Chosen One thing came from Dune as well, which didn't happen until the prequels. Now, again, is there a fact that George said that that's where he got inspired from? Or are we just making this conclusion because it's similar? That's my question. That's what I want to discuss when I have this live stream, the myths of Dune and Star Wars. Jesus was also considered the chosen one. Yeah, right? And people, like, until now, like even before this Dune came out and people started talking about this again, everybody was even correlating, the chosen one prophecy to being a Catholic or Christian kind of trope. So now it's like, oh, it's from Dune now. So The chosen one theme element exists long before Dune. Correct. Correct. And that's the points that I want to talk about here, because there's a lot of things that you can look at and say, okay, Herbert did not come up with this. Now, did George come up with this on his own? Because he is very good at giving credit where credit is due. So, hello there. How are you doing, Matt G? And then I just passed this one up. I'm sorry. And Star Wars Marvel Purist. Hello. How are you doing? Hail chat EU for life. Okay. We're coming up an hour. I guess we're going to probably go the 2 hours. See what happens when I decide, oh, you know what? Let me go ahead and just talk to my peeps on CAF Chat. Let's hang out. Thank you guys for just helping me just really just soften in and not worry about anything. You guys are great. Star Wars is more influential culturally and professionally. It does make Dune the story less. Force choke that like button. I agree. George Lucas Star Wars also allegorical, which Dune isn't. And see, I haven't, like I said, just doing my research on what was similar, what's not, and where George got his inspiration and versus Herbert and stuff like that. So I can't really say agree with you, yes or no on that. So I'm being honest. But if you have read or whatever, if you know, then that's your conclusion. That's cool. Star Wars Matt G, cheers to you. I do have my Asajj Ventress, Mistress of Rat Attack mug on me. It's called brainstorming. People come up with ideas and story outlines. They do an initial draft. Then they edit, change, and do another draft, etc., etc. It's writing 101. Laugh my fat ass off. Yeah, there's a lot of that. So, but does like these similarities make George or Star Wars less than it is? No, it's not. Does it make Dune better? No, it does. It just means that these two creatives were inspired and driven from same mythologies and stuff, had similar ideas. And yes, there are things that, that I like the evaporator. I haven't found anywhere else yet where the idea of an evaporator came from other than Dune. So, and he did mention that there are some things. So I do acknowledge that there's a brief little discussion about that, but doesn't mean that it's a ripoff. Like Star Wars is a ripoff of Dune. George Lucas has a deeper meaning. Dune does not. I've never said Luke. I'm not saying you did. Let me clarify. I'm not saying you did. I'm talking just in general from what everybody's saying, like on social media. So I apologize if you think that I'm saying you do. And yeah, I know if everybody borrows from the other stories, Dune was one of the books he read when he was writing Star Wars. And if you have that source information for me, please provide it for me. Because like I said, I'm compiling all this evidence and stuff, and I haven't came across anything where it was saying that George was reading Dune when he was writing Star Wars. But if you have that information, please share it with me so I have a greater understanding. No, it's not a crime to be interested in Dune or anything, correct? Yeah, and I'm not saying it's not. No way in general. And I'm not saying, Matthew, that you're saying that George ripped off. This is just what people are saying in general on social media. I'm seeing it more than ever right now. It's like people are like, oh, since, it's been a week or two since Dune came out, now it's safe to say this shit. That's what I'm saying. So let me go ahead and bring this up here because I was not going to do it, but I'm going to do it now. I don't have the page up. So let me find it. Let me find it first, and then I will pull it up. Let's see here. And I think it's a beautiful thing that we have stories. We have, let me walk that back a little bit. I think it's a beautiful thing that we see these creatives. Oh shit. We see these creatives being inspired by each other as well, the mythologies and stuff. And usually when you get into a time period of certain creativity that's going on, a lot of people have similar ideas. And that's either with art, that's either with writing. There's similar ideas, what have you. Like when you look at what's his name? What's the artist's name again? Crap, I can't think of the artist's name. But when you have, people thinking and writing down these ideas, and maybe they didn't get the idea printed and out and published or invented yet, but they did have this idea on paper, and then another person actually does get that idea and invent, and now they're the inventor of that. You have that same energy, but one was able to get it invented and get it out to the world, while the other just put it on paper. So you see all those similarities throughout history of the same ideas coming to different people, but it's a matter of who gets it out first. And I think that's very, very interesting. If that makes sense to you guys. I get a lot of like the best time I do my art and my work is at night, because I am able to have no interruptions, and I'm able to really just connect to what I'm doing and share what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and do this. So this is one thing, and this is just one example. One example. Dune is mature Star Wars, not an insult to stars. When someone says not an insult, or I didn't mean it or in a certain way, you actually did. I'm sorry, because you wouldn't be putting up an apology. It requires thinking to enjoy, whereas Star Wars is enjoyable whether you think about it or not. That's why it's easier to sell Star Wars to American audiences than Dune. So not only is this like an insult towards Star Wars, because you really don't need your brains to even enjoy it. And then this is an assault to American audiences, because, they're saying, oh, American people are dumb. So they wouldn't get the complexity, mature nature of Dune. Yep. And this is the things, this is what I'm seeing on social media. This is what I'm seeing. Let's see here. The first tweet was a sorry, not sorry. Yeah, that's bullshit. I call bullshit. I do. I call bullshit. Bad Pidgey bad, back inside your Pokeball. I don't know too much about Pokemon, but my son was an avid collector. I mean, he even collected the cards. I still have his. No, I actually gave it back to him. So I gave back his big huge binder of all that. And then when it came out on your phone where you can hunt them on your own, he graduated, and he was where we picked him up. It was his graduation time for the Marines. And we picked him up. It was near his graduation. I don't remember. So he had like a little break to come home, and we picked him up. And we were driving around, and he had his phone out, and he was like just hunting his Pokemon on his phone. It was crazy seeing this Marine with his Pokemon. I'm serious. Collective consciousness. Listen. We will talk about this tonight, Justin. This Dune versus Star Wars talk is a social media thing. Yes, it is, Stezo. I think it was Skywalking Dale Pollock, if I'm spelling it right. Let's see her. All right. So that's one thing. This is just one example. Let me see here. I know you guys are still chatting. That's the funny thing about social media. When something becomes popular, then everyone becomes an expert. That's the thing. And then they'll use their so-called expertise. And like I said, I'm researching. So I never read. I'm being very honest with you guys. So the things that are being said, I'm pulling up and researching. I can't tell you beat for beat the storyline for Dune. I vaguely remember, like barely remember, like watching the show when I was, little. And that's fine. I'm going to be honest with you guys. That's why I want to bring on people who are both Dune fans and Star Wars fans at the same time to have this productive, constructive, and educational talk. And like people are like, oh, the Sarlacc was really, like George ripped off the Dune worms and used them for Sarlacc. They're not even relatively the same. They are not the same. Not even they don't travel around and all that. In fact, what is funny is that Disney Star Wars for what's it, the Book of Boba Fett? I don't know. They all bleed into each other now because they have these cross fertilizations, of these characters and story arcs within the other shows. But do you guys remember the Crate Dragon and how, like these people on Tatooine had to live upon like lifted lifted homes away from the sound because these crate dragons swim like the dune worms in in the sand. So, like I said, there's no similarities to the Sarlacc, but then in Disney Star Wars, they're like, oh, let's make the crate like swimmers like the dune worms or whatever. I'm just calling similarities. I'm not saying that's where they got the idea from, but I'm just showing the similarities. The ball. Yeah, I've been pissing me off. I've been dropping comments throughout social media. Yeah. And I think there needs to be a productive discussion on this, really, because there are people who don't know, but are going to run with this and talk shit. And we've seen that with Disney Star Wars fans. Whoops, there goes my screen. All right, you guys. Okay. Let's see. Sarlaccs apparently aren't lethal according to Disney Star Wars. No. Oh, and they have feelings. They have feelings now. They don't want to be, force-fed people. I guess. I don't know. That's where I read somewhere in Star Wars, Disney Star Wars. Crate Dragon was a Mando season 2 first episode, I think. Yeah, like I said, I didn't remember. So there we go. Trimmers ripped off Dune. Yeah, like I said, I only seen, and you weren't in here, I think, when we were talking about this when Soul Assassin mentioned that. But I've only seen a couple people on social media like doing the Trimmers Dune reference, which was funny. OG, you knows sounds like Midwestern. Well, I originally do come from the Midwestern. Oh, gee, thanks. Don't you know? No. Only time Star Wars ripped off Dune was that mission in Jedi Academy. Jaden had to jump around and avoid stepping on the sand to avoid the large worm that attacked him. All right. Okay, so with that being said, there is going to be announcement on a panel, or at least me and another, regarding the myths of Dune and Star Wars. And I think, like I said, I think that's a very constructive title than Dune versus Star Wars. So, and I think that title's already been used, and so I don't want to copy anybody else. So stay tuned for that. The announcement will come in. The announcement will be announced as soon as I get the time and date and time squared away. And I think it's very important that we address this. I do. I think, but in a respectful, constructive manner and respect to both Herbert and George Lucas. My utmost respect for these creatives that has made influences in their perspective genres. They're both sci-fi, right? But in their perspective ways. Some people are like, oh, well, Star Wars is a fantasy. And then you can call it sci-fi fantasy, if I guess. And then there's others are like, no, Star Wars is just sci-fi. So whatever you think it is, however, respect between these two creatives that pulled from sources that inspired them. And then, and how George pulled from people who inspired him and how that all came about. So stay tuned for that. Now, speaking of Star Wars and also regarding Disney Star Wars, more or less. Now, I know people are like, well, Disney will say Disney isn't Star Wars, and I do agree. but just for the sheer naming between the two Disney Star Wars versus Star Wars here. So let's see here. Let me scroll up and let me just do here. So this right here, and you have to thank Soul Assassin. And I'm glad he gave this information to me too. Then I didn't have to really look up anything for any type of topics today, considering like this week has been crazy for me. So thank you again, Soul Assassin. Omega! Woo! All right. And then Herbert ripped off sandwords from ancient Eastern mythology. There you go. So like you can find resources in different places. Okay. All right. Let's get to this one here. They gave Anthony Daniels and Mark Hamill a cookie as a Star Wars parting gift. Yep. So those who were in here when I was first discussing this, it was a cookie that was given to Anthony Daniels, known for playing acting C-3PO, and of course Mark Hamill, excuse me, known for Luke Skywalker. Their parting gift after The Force Awakens, or was it? No, after the rise of Palpatine, I guess you could say, was a cookie. What parting gift do you give the two actors who have been instrumental in creating one of the largest franchises in the world? Apparently, it is a gingerbread cookie, according to Anthony Daniels. Oh my God. And this is just for sheer laughs. I mean, yeah, it sucks, right? But fuck, you have to laugh at this shit, right? It seems that back in 2019, after they wrapped up the final Star Wars, quote unquote, Star Wars project, I love how it's quote unquote Star Wars project, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy gave Anthony Daniels and Mark Hamill each a gingerbread cookie as a parting gift, and Daniels' cookie will now be up for auction. Of course, he's auctioning that motherfucking thing. He needs to make money, right? So this is it right here, you guys. Oh my God. I don't know what you guys are thinking about this, but I mean, as sad as it sounds, I can't help but laugh. Now, I wonder if Mark's cookie was Luke Skywalker. I don't think I've seen that. I don't think I've seen in this article. I don't feel bad for either of them. They're both losers. Tuscan Bob's favorite actor and character. Right. I wonder if he's going to buy this cookie. A cookie? Oh my God. And that shit is so funny. Laugh out loud. KK obviously hates everyone. She's like this, like, grandma. Here, have a cookie. And I'm not trying to insult any grandmothers. You get a cookie, and you get a cookie, and you get a cookie. Mark Cookie was a Jake. Maybe, and then maybe they gave him some green milk for that, right? Gonna need some green milk with those. And we're on the same wavelength right there. I see no gumdrop buttons. No, not a real gingerbread cookie. Soy infused cookies. Not insulting bakers at all. No. I don't know why. Maybe it was because like it has maybe it was a Christmas gift, considering I'm not making excuses, but I'm just taking what I'm seeing here. That there is a reindeer on the tag for him and stuff. So maybe it's around Christmas. And I'm not, like I said, not, sticking up for Kennedy at all. I think it's fucking funny and stuff. So I don't know. But these cookies look so poorly made. Look at the arms here. Like they're of different levels and all that. Oh my God. Let's see here. Oops, I thought I clicked. Green milk and cookies make the medicine go down. Medicine go down. Medicine go down, right? All right. Shouldn't that have an arm with red frosting? Aha, I get it. I remember that they put that red arm in him, but then I think by that time he got his normal arm back. Let's see here. Do you know the tragedy of the Muffin Man? Do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man. I'm like full of song today. Rise of Palpatine was released in December. All right. Okay. I get it. Mark deserves better. Disney is a joke. They ruined Luke and it can't be undone. The Disney trilogy destroyed Star Wars. I agree. But we're far past that now. And they're still on the road of destruction on that path. They're still making and changing the lore to how people view George's Star Wars, his movies, and even the EU now differently. So it's still on its path. It's like this floating dumpster fire during a flood. Still on its course that the tide of the flood is taking it. How it lands, where it ends, we don't know. If you blink real fast, the cookie's animated. Are you doing that, Gordon? Are you doing that? Is that from experience? And I don't know why. Like, it looks like he has a fucking soggy diaper. He looks like he needs his diaper changed. Like, it's like hanging off his waist. And he's loaded. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not. And it looks like his hands are trying to hold up the soggy diaper. The cookie symbolizes don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. The Muffin Man who lives on Drury Lane. Laugh at light. Yeah, I know. Oh, or maybe I need less caffeine. I don't know. But thanks for making me laugh. Let me see here. The wrecking ball. Oops. Come on now. Work with me. The wrecking ball keeps swinging recklessly. Except for some of the new Marvel comics as a whole, the Disney EU could be entirely binned as in trashed, or what are you talking about? All right, C3PO fully loaded. There you go. Fully loaded. There we go. I wonder if it's chocolate filling in that. Too much? Is that too much? TMI? Oh my god. Wow, let's see here. Quick one, if you want OG, make Star Wars themed cookies. I can make them a lot better than that. He wouldn't look fully loaded, or if I come up with a theme, then maybe you'll get like chocolate filled. I don't know, but I ain't gonna go there. Throw out the trash. No, you don't need to, are you talking about are you talking about the EU that they should throw it out the trash? What are you talking about? What is that about? Or their EU? All right. Let's see. Yep. The doo-doo. 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 Sith language in every bite. I'm glad I ate lunch before the stream. I had breakfast before I came on here, so yeah, I had egg white burrito, breakfast burrito with avocado and bacon. So good. So good. The Disney version. I get it. Okay. I agree. Will OG make us take a test first? If we could do that virtually, if there was ever a way. Oh my god, okay, so I'm looking at this. It looks like he has a fucking bra. It looks like he's wearing a bikini. So look at the top. It looks like a bra top. And then, of course, the circle is his belly button. And then he has some soggy diapers. I don't know. That looks so fucking funny. Oh my god, I hope I'm making you guys laugh at this. Oh god, I'm all hot now because my ground heater is on and I'm laughing like crazy. I'm going to turn this shit off because too much is going on. All right. Oh, let's see here. Oh, it jumped on me. They call it canon, not the EU. Ha ha ha. I know, I get it. Take it off. Gross. The screen. I'm just calling what I'm seeing now that I'm looking at it more. And Anthony Daniels is auctioning this off. Oh my God. So he's gonna try to make money off this. And I wonder who the poor pitiful idiot is to buy this shit. Now it's been already a long time, so he probably auctioned it off. Let me see if it says anything. I don't remember if it said if it was actually sold. The auction write-up reads, a C3PO cookie gift from Kathleen Kennedy, producer of J.J. Abrams' Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. The cookie lies within the Biscuiteer's Jolly Ginger manufacturer's box packaging with handwritten label attached that reads Anthony. The cookie is shaped like C3PO with the icing finished, it has the dimensions here. Let me see here. Let's see. Did they... There's a little back and forth questionnaire here, but let me see here. We're not going to get into that. It says, he says basically he was asked if he would eat his party leaving present. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the idea that after being part of Star Wars since the start, they were just giving a cookie. And it doesn't have anything on if this cookie was actually sold. And so who knows? Oh my God, that's hilarious. All right, let's see here. We're going to get into the next article, but I got to see what you guys are saying here. Hey, Jim, the despot, you missed the funnest part about talking about C3PO's cookie and his soggy diaper looking cookie. It's the slave 3PO version. Oh my God. The first thing they published was that Wendig thing. It was the worst book. Oh, I know. Oh my God. And that with the other Star Wars material, it's like they keep contradicting, but then they try to course correct. There's this back and forth. It's hilarious how they can't keep track of their continuity. The thing will curse your kitchen. I bet it will. And in how many 6 million type of languages, I guess. Soul Assassin says, I think the cookie wants to be disintegrated in blue milk and then continue existing. KK was charged $1,000 for that cookie. That cookie looked horrible. Horrible. The dimensions. I mean, mind you, I've seen better. So I used to love watching Food Network when they had their food baking challenges and stuff, especially during the holidays. That was really interesting to me because I do like cooking. I do like baking, all of that. And then the artist in me is like, okay, let's see what kind of art can they make with these confectioner stuff. I've seen better gingerbread figures than that right there. That is, oh my God. And you would think because, you would think Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm, all of them, and owned by Disney, could have found a better cookie artist to make those. Fucking hilarious. They can't fix it. They have no talent. It's not like Game of Thrones, and they can can make a I forgot what that cinnamon is, but anyways, because the two idiots were fired. Okay, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, the House of Dragon. No, everyone in Disney is a talentless, and I put talentless hack. I agree. I didn't grab no water, and I'm out of coffee, you guys. Well, nearly out of coffee. No. Okay. Can't wait to see the shills who buy this shit. It's already been since 2019. So I don't know who bought it, and it wasn't indicated. I'm gonna have to look into that one. I should have done it earlier, but I didn't. I would have broken their cookie budget forever and ever, their house, their budget for their house and everything else. I got a question for chat. Is there a way Dooku and Femor to convince Qui-Gon to take Obi-Wan as his apprentice? Is there a way for Dooku and Femor to convince Qui-Gon to take Obi-Wan as his apprentice? Chuck Wendig, the worst writer. Claudia Gray, the most overrated. Agree. Taintless and talentless, the same thing. Yeah. So if anybody wants to do that, I'm going to go ahead and switch articles now. I'm going to put the other one on here. Okay. Let's get this other one up. Now, this is from, of course, usually one of the most favored sources for cringe factor Screen Rants here. So if you guys are on Twitter, or maybe on any type of social media, because usually Twitter stuff crosses over to Facebook, especially if you follow Star Wars themed stuff on there. But if you guys remember, and if you've seen it, the Cerveza Crystal videos coming out from back in the 70s, like after Star Wars came out, on commercials inserting this company inserting their product into Star Wars so that they didn't have to break to commercial. Kind of brilliant, but George did not think so. So if you have a chance to watch any one of those videos, I feel free to do that. Star Wars Cerveza Crystal meme explained, and why George Lucas went to court over beer. So the bizarre beer ad that links to 1977 Star Wars reruns has recently resurfaced online, a connection that once drove George Lucas to court. So, you know the history here. You know, they inserted their commercial into Star Wars, so they didn't have to break to commercial and cut the film in a sense. So, you know, we like when we would watch Star Wars or any of our favorite movies that were on regular public TV, you know that they break for commercials because, you know, that's where they get their funding from. And then so because of that, then certain parts of the movie is cut out, you know, and so that's always been a nuisance. So this Cerveza Crystal beer company found a way to put their ads inside of Star Wars reruns. And so you have like Obi-Wan, you know, talking to Luke about where he got his lightsaber, and then he goes to reach for it inside, or not Luke how he got his lightsaber, how like how he was giving him his dad's lightsaber. So he's reaching for, you know, into the little wooden chest, the wooden box, and instead of pulling out Anakin's lightsaber, he pulls out a beer. I think it was hilarious, but George did not think that it was hilarious. So let me see. So this is it right here. Many people are sharing this, but if you want to find out and you want to look at it, it's funnier than hell. And then you have different commercials as well that did this, are different parts of the movies. Like the one with the Emperor is so fucking funny too. But anyways, that's worth the watch these little ads and stuff, these little clips of those ads. So here's what happened. This is where George is like drawing the line. Like George was very passive. He was very open to, you know, fans making their own parody of Star Wars and making their own Star Wars lore. He was down for it, but he wasn't down for people manipulating his films. And he was very, very big about that. That's why he did not want Hollywood to have control and say of his movies. That's why he went independent. So I get exactly where he went with it, but you got to say that the Cerveza company, the beer company, was very brilliant, but George just didn't care for it. While the Cerveza Crystal ads are hilariously embodied in the Star Wars first movie, George Lucas was evidently not a fan of the admittedly ingenious marketing method. Upon being made aware of the ad, Lucasfilm began a legal battle after its founder filed a grievance with the Chilean Council for Self-Regulation and Advertising Ethics response to the edit. As reported by BNN, eventually this court case was settled in Lucasfilm's favor, with the ads not being aired again in Chile. Despite the ads now being highlighted as a hilarious way of ads being utilized, it is no surprise that Lucas was not a fan of the marketing method. Not only is the blaring fanfare of the beer company completely jarring, but it is safe to say that Obi-Wan handing Luke Skywalker a beer does not fit with anyone's vision for the franchise, let alone Lucas's. As such, the ad being removed was likely the right course of action, despite the resurfacing of the video causing great humor among the Star Wars fan base. So there we go. And then someone created this meme. It's over, Anakin. I have the cerveza crystal. So there you guys go. And then, of course, we have all this fun stuff that's going on with it because there people will like, and it goes back to the topic fan subject that I talked about earlier. Those people who want to run this narrative of shaming, especially long-term hardcore fans, as toxic, fail to realize that we have been through a lot with Star Wars and we've seen a lot with Star Wars, and we have such humor to create fun parodies, fun stuff, just to joke around about stupid situations and stuff like that. And so there you go. Let me see what you guys are saying about this. And then we'll start wrapping up. Let's see here. And then it's like Mexican beer. It's probably be very good. To be fair, I kind of want one of those Chilean beers. It's probably tastes bad, I bet. I don't know. Don't touch George's films, Carbone. Carbone. Sorry, I don't have the proper accent. I want George's Underworld show and sequel trilogy. I will always wonder what if he doesn't sell. We can all think what ifs about that. And thanks to the internet, it'll never die. Correct. Never die. Grab a cold one instead of a hot one, I guess. Yeah. Right? And how is this not more work? They went and had to literally edit that, when that goes into major copyright issues. That's probably why they ruled in George's favor. Obi-Wan had no problem with the beers from the picture. He is all smiles, right? Did Dave Filoni bake those cookies? Inquiring minds want to know. I don't know, and I don't want to find out. Maybe it was his wife. It's blatantly insulting. Okay. Let me see here. So I scrolled up instead of scrolling up and reading down. Let's see here. Parodies are proof of Star Wars' wider impact, correct? They're starting to add the beer commercials to other films like Alien. Everybody's having so much fun with that, aren't they? I think I've seen someone post about that with Alien. I think that 7 parody is the best. So there you guys go. A bit of Star Wars humor. It's not a cringe factor thing, but just a little bit of history regarding Star Wars and George Lucas and Lucasfilm in Chile and what happened with trying to be smart about commercial wise and not really cutting too much out of the movie for commercials and stuff. But still, it went into copyright issues. I understand what George was thinking and feeling because he didn't want anybody to have control of his movies. So people who say, oh, well, George didn't really have any much involvement in the OT really didn't do their research, really, because George was a huge control freak. We all know that. That's the history of Star Wars. Huge control freak. But rightfully so. It is his story. It is his property. It is his brain seed, I guess you can say. Of course, whatever we see, George is going to have to approve, and it's going to be there because George wanted it to be there. And that goes with the EU. The EU, despite what people say, the EU is there because George wanted it there. He wanted those characters. Whatever characters or storylines he didn't want, they were vetoed straight out. We didn't get him because he didn't want him. And I don't think anybody realizes that the extent of what George wanted when it came to the movies and the EU, the games, all of that. And yeah, there's incidences where he didn't like how one character may have looked, Mara Jade, but she still existed, and she also was put in the radio drama. So basically, G canon. She is G canon material, whether people like it or not. She is G canon, and it cannot happen if George didn't want it, especially when it comes to the G canon material, I guess you could say. You can't tell me Yaphet Kotto and Harry Dean Stanton wouldn't pop a cold one. I know, right? Lucas was very hands-on with his franchise, but wasn't beyond convincing to allow some fun like Spaceballs, right? And Robot Chicken and Family Guy spoofs, right? He even had like awards for those kind of things, like parodies and stuff like that, fan parodies and stuff. So that's right here. It's fun. We all got laughs. George, of Kit. I understand that he didn't want no one to mess with his creations, and that's fine. Respect towards him for that. I just want to know, like, if he still giggled at some of the stuff. I don't think George is a prude. I honestly don't. But I do understand that if you cross a line, he's going to put his foot down eventually. So there we go. Because we know that George allowed parodies and fan stuff. George, just don't touch my yeah. So thank you guys again. I enjoyed this. I'm so glad that I decided I better just come on to CAF Chat so I can connect with you guys and talk, and then talking about a few things here. So, whoops, I didn't mean to. There we go. My cursor did it. But anyways, thank you for coming in and hanging out. 15 beautiful souls. Make sure you hit that like button. I had fun. I did. My research for Dune probably will have me start getting into it just to, know more, because that's how I am. It's like, okay, you're going to spark. My interest is being sparked about researching and the influences of Herbert towards other franchises, including George's. Okay, let's see what this is about. But with this like mirroring of Disney Star Wars fans putting down George and Star Wars, like his Star Wars and the EU, it's the same thing that these Dune fans are doing, like the ST or Disney Star Wars fans. So I just wanted to bring that to attention and know that every creator is influenced by each other, by the universe, the creative thought process, and also by the mythologies and stuff that came before. And we can link a lot of sci-fi to each other in a sense of sharing some same themes, maybe some same aspects, tropes, or what have you. Does it mean that they're copying each other, like blatantly ripping off each other? No, it does not mean that. So it just takes a little bit more critical thinking. And so with that person saying, oh, well, basically Americans and Star Wars fans don't have to think to consume the product. Well, I'm showing you that there is a thought process going on here with the analyzing between Dune and Star Wars here. And this person right here just wants to shame Star Wars fans because they think, without saying it, that Star Wars George ripped off Dune like blatantly, like it's just a plain on copy, and that Dune is more sophisticated. Where did we hear the sophisticated talk just recently? That's with the Andor fans. So even within Disney Star Wars and its own crux of fans, they shame the rest of Star Wars because, oh, it's made for kids, and Andor is like this groundbreaking thing for a more adult thought process. You see? The similar things going on here. So something to think about, thinking about thought process. So again, you guys, thank you so much. I will keep you guys up to date on that future live stream coming. I think it's very important. And the spacing tomorrow is going to discuss this as well. So stay tuned for that. Come to spacing at 8:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I think I haven't got any word that Tim wants the regular panelists on, so it probably would be just him, which is fine. I'll be in the chat no matter what. I will be there, so it will talk about Dune versus Star Wars, among other things. So stay tuned for that tomorrow, Friday at 8:05. And tonight, catch Casual Rage. I think it's at 5:30 my time, but anyways, go catch that tonight. Let Raging Rhino know I sent you. Make a shout out if you want to. No obligation. But check it out. So I didn't see what his topics are, but it's probably the latest episode of The Bad Batch and Star Wars news and what have you. So go check that out. Hang out. I'll see you there, hopefully. I think I might be at a hot power yoga class for half that time. So I'll probably be catching the replay. I've been catching the replay a lot more than anything. So see you guys there. Thank you for hanging out. And back to regular program for CAF Chat next Thursday. Oh, I almost forgot. So let's talk about this real quick, because I can't leave without giving you guys the book of the week. So here you go. Here is the book of the week. Now, I didn't make my introduction clip because I forgot to, so I'm not going to do that because it still has Plagueis on there. So Dark Forces, the novella trilogy. I know that the remaster of, one of them came out. So please, I would say, so please, I'm not trying to beg you guys. If you can read these stories here, there is an online version of this. So Soul Assassin, if you can find that, you can listen to all three of these online, especially if you don't have the novellas, the books. I think the Jedi Knight one is the most expensive one to purchase. It can go up to $200, which, oh hell, for like a lot of people, it's not going to be worth it. But you can catch all three online. So if you don't have it and you want to explore the written story of this, feel free to catch it. So this is the basically book of the week, or a trilogy of the week, Dark Forces, Star Wars Dark Forces, with everybody's favorite Kyle Katarn. And there you go, you guys. So I'll leave you guys with this parting here. So if you guys want to go ahead and copy and paste so you can save it, especially if you haven't had a chance to read it. And you're a game player, it's always good to explore the books behind the games. Always good to explore those. So I highly recommend copy and paste that there if you want to go ahead and start listening to it. Very good. I've listened to it already. Very good stuff there. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and I shall talk to you guys later. See you guys next week, or see you guys just this weekend or on social media if I decide not to take a break, like a full-on break. So here we go. You guys have a good day.
Prepare yourself for Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire. The evil Empire has struck back with a vengeance, and a new villain, the crime lord Shizor, schemes to replace Darth Vader as the Emperor's second-in-command. With Han Solo held frozen in carbonite by bounty hunter Boba Fett, it's the rebellion's darkest hour. Now, join Jedi warrior Luke Skywalker, hard-charging Chewbacca, and go undercover with heroic pilot Dash Rendar and his booming Outrider. But can Han Solo be freed and Shizor be stopped? Star Wars, Shadows of the Empire. Look for the authentic figures and vehicles from Kenner.
And I've always leaned towards if we're going to create something, we should check and see if it existed already to the fans. Because it has way more value if we bring that in. And It's like, why would I just replace it with something new? So if we're going to do an admiral, if we're going to do a big military leader, yeah, I could create a new guy, sure. But what about Thrawn? Thrawn is great. Thrawn is a character we all know. Thrawn has a lot of credibility. So then you ask yourself, is it right to use him? And can we use him in a way that's similar to the books? Or are we using him and it's going to go completely into left field? And there have been times when we wanted to use things from the EU, and I was like, yeah, but we can't use it that way, so why? I don't want to use it and change it. Mm-hmm. I don't want to use it and make it something completely different. That's rude.
Another happy landing.